The thunder of the helicopter blades echoed through the dawn sky as the jungle stretched endlessly below, a green ocean hiding 1,000 secrets. Inside the aircraft, 6 elite soldiers sat strapped in, faces painted, eyes fixed on the terrain. The air reeked of oil and adrenaline. Among them sat one person who stood out, a woman. Lieutenant Arya Vale. Her calmness was unsettling. Her expression didn't change even as the chopper shuddered from the wind. She had been silent since takeoff, staring through the open hatch like she was reading the jungle's secrets. The men exchanged glances. To them, she was just a last-minute addition, an intelligence officer who somehow got assigned to an elite ranger unit. They'd spent years proving themselves in the field, and suddenly, command sends them a woman with no combat record. It didn't sit well with them. Sergeant Jackson leaned back, smirking beneath his face mask. He whispered to the others that she wouldn't last 10 minutes in the jungle. The others chuckled, but none of them realized what was about to happen. The pilot's voice broke through the comms, warning them that the drop zone was coming up. Their mission was clear: move through 5 kilometers of dense forest, reach a hostile encampment, extract a kidnapped scientist, and get out by sundown. A standard ranger operation. At least, it was supposed to be. Commander Harlow, a seasoned veteran with 30 missions behind him, nodded at his squad. He'd been quiet all morning, observing Arya with a strange mix of caution and curiosity. He didn't know why command had assigned her to his unit, but he trusted orders. The helicopter dropped lower, cutting through the mist. The jungle looked endless. As they reached the target altitude, the back hatch opened. Wind roared in. One by one, the Rangers stepped to the edge, their parachutes ready. Arya moved up next, her harness secure, calm as stone. Jackson, behind her, grinned. In a split second that would haunt them all, he gave her a shove. She fell backward out of the helicopter, her body tumbling into the void. The others shouted, but it was too late. She vanished beneath the canopy without a single scream. The team froze. Even Jackson's grin disappeared. Commander Harlow yelled through his mic, demanding eyes on the chute. But there was nothing. No parachute. No sign of a landing. Just silence and the endless green below. The realization hit them like a bullet: they had just thrown one of their own into a death trap. The helicopter circled for several minutes before Harlow ordered a landing. The clearing they touched down on was uneven, surrounded by towering trees and thick vines. The squad disembarked, spreading out through the underbrush, searching desperately. The guilt and panic were written across their faces. For nearly an hour they combed the area, calling her name, scanning for movement, finding only the echo of their own voices. The jungle was alive, insects buzzing, branches cracking, unseen eyes watching from the dark. Then, without warning, a familiar voice crackled through the radio. Calm, collected, and very much alive. Next time you throw someone out of a helicopter, make sure she doesn't land better than you. They froze, turning toward the sound. Emerging from the mist was Arya Vale, covered in mud, branches tangled in her hair, but standing tall. Her rifle slung across her chest, her expression unreadable. The disbelief on their faces said it all. Jackson stumbled forward, speechless. She just smirked and said one sentence that none of them would forget. Rangers don't need parachutes. No one understood what she meant, but no one dared ask. Commander Harlow ordered everyone to move. Whatever miracle she had pulled off, they had a mission to finish. As they pushed deeper into the jungle, strange things began to happen. Arya moved ahead like she knew the forest intimately. She could read the terrain, spot danger before anyone else noticed. When they approached a ravine, she was the one who found a narrow crossing. When they ran into a patrol of armed hostiles, she signaled the perfect ambush point before a single word was spoken. Harlow began to realize something: Arya wasn't just another soldier. She was trained for this. More than them, maybe better. Her instincts were sharper than the units combined. By midday, the squad reached the edge of the enemy camp. Through their scopes, they saw a fortified compound, tents, armed guards, and the sound of engines humming in the distance. The kidnapped scientist was likely inside. They formed a plan, but before they could execute it, Arya vanished again. She moved like a shadow through the trees. The Rangers whispered in frustration, thinking she had gone rogue. But minutes later, the camp's alarms went off. Explosions erupted from the far side. Chaos. Gunfire. The enemy scrambled, shouting orders, running toward the fire. And through the confusion, the scientist stumbled out, free, guided by none other than Arya. She had infiltrated the compound alone, cut the power, and extracted the hostage without firing a shot. The Rangers moved in for support, eliminating the remaining guards. By the time it was over, the camp was in flames and their target was safe. As the sun began to sink, they reached the extraction zone, a narrow riverbank surrounded by cliffs. The evac chopper was late. They could hear enemy reinforcements closing in, shouting through the jungle. The team took defensive positions, waiting for the sound of rotor blades. Then, a distant rumble. But it wasn't the helicopter. It was a storm rolling in. The sky darkened, rain pouring down, turning the ground into slick mud. The chopper finally appeared, fighting through the wind. The pilot radioed that he couldn't land, too dangerous. They'd have to climb up the cliff to the pickup point. Under heavy fire, the Rangers began their ascent. One by one, they climbed, bullets tearing into the rock beside them. Arya was the last. When a grenade exploded near the base, she shielded the scientist with her body, taking the full blast of the shockwave. The team at the top looked down in horror. Smoke, fire, silence. Then, through the chaos, movement, Arya emerging, limping, but alive. She threw the injured scientist over her shoulder and started climbing with one arm. The storm raged harder, lightning cracking the sky, but she didn't stop. When she reached the top, Commander Harlow pulled her up, disbelief in his eyes. Her gear was shredded, her uniform torn, but her determination was unbroken. The helicopter lowered its cable. One by one, the Rangers climbed aboard, soaked, exhausted, but alive. As they flew back through the storm, the men sat in silence, each processing what they had witnessed. Jackson, who had pushed her earlier, couldn't even look at her. Arya sat near the open hatch, staring out at the jungle as if listening to something only she could hear. When they landed at the base, the squad filed out, battered but successful. The commander was met by higher-ups, who took the scientist for debriefing. Arya stayed behind, quietly cleaning her rifle, ignoring the stares. Jackson finally approached, guilt weighing on him. Before he could speak, she said calmly, "Sometimes people have to fall before they learn who they're standing next to." Then she walked away. Later that night, Harlow received a classified file marked, "Eyes Only." Inside was Arya's record, sealed documents, redacted missions, and one chilling line of text at the top, Project Valkyrie. Experimental Ranger Unit. Parachuteless air insertion capable. He leaned back in his chair, realization flooding over him. Arya Vale wasn't a rookie. She was part of a Black Ops program designed to train soldiers for high-altitude drops without traditional gear, using advanced exosuits, body-hardened landing techniques, and tactical impact training that bordered on superhuman. Everything made sense now. The calm, the precision, the way she survived the fall. She wasn't just a ranger, she was the prototype of something far beyond what they were used to. The next morning, when the squad reported for debrief, Arya was gone. No trace. Her bunk empty. Her name removed from the roster. The mission logs were edited, her existence erased. Only the Rangers who had been there remembered her, and they didn't talk about it. But whenever new recruits joined the unit and asked about the scar on Jackson's conscience, he'd tell them one story. About the time they threw a woman out of a helicopter, and she walked back out of the jungle without a parachute, carrying their mission on her shoulders. And somewhere out there, deep in the shadows of classified warfare, the legend of Arya Vale still circulates, the ranger who fell from the sky and proved that sometimes, the strongest wings are the ones you can't see.